Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another video. Now, we've all had situations most likely where we've had to play on high ping, whether it's not by your choice, like me, where I live in Southeast Asia, or you guys living in Africa. I know there are a lot of places in the world where you can get really bad ping, and sometimes, even if you're on good ping, you're playing on a different server, like your NA, and you're playing the EU, or vice versa, etc., etc. And at some point in your Fortnite career, you'll probably find yourself playing on pretty high ping. So in today's video, I'm gonna kind of go over some like tips and tricks that you can implement into your gameplay that should almost become second nature to you, should almost become like muscle memory to you once you start implementing these tips that will help you dominate on high ping. So first tip, this is really obvious and it's not really geared towards people who always play on high ping, but more so towards people who don't actually play on high ping that often, is to get used to not holding walls. Now, I live on NA East and Asia, like I go back and forth over the course of a year. It's really complicated. But basically, when I'm on NA East, I'm playing on pretty much 20 ping, so really low ping. And when I'm in Asia, I'm playing on like 90 plus. So something that I always have trouble with when I adjust is I'm not used to losing walls. And this can actually be a really bad habit, especially if you're on anything like above 50 ping, I would say. Because if you're expecting to keep the wall when you're holding it, you're going to get caught by surprise. Now, it's not wrong when you're a high ping player to be standing there like with your wall bind out, holding it, because there is a chance you're going to keep it, right? Because according to Epic Games, coin flip is in the game. But when you're holding the wall, don't expect to keep it. And what I mean by this is be ready to do something else, right? Don't just stand there holding the wall being like, oh, no way he takes his first try. Because if you're on high ping, chances are you're not. Now, that first tip might not have seemed super useful, but it feeds a lot into the second tip. So my second tip is to almost always, if you're a defensive player, have a pre-built cone in your box. I have a whole video on like the advantages of having your cone early, but on high ping, some of you might be used to boxing up, and then you might be more comfortable playing without the cone in your box. But if you're on high ping, you have to put the cone every time, because if you, let's say you're holding a wall, right? Basically, what holding a wall does is you're trying to buy yourself time to make a choice, make a decision to like make a play on an opponent who's aggressing you. But if you're holding a wall and you lose it and you don't already have this pre-established piece control, the opponent's just gonna kind of like take your wall, and then they're gonna do a mongrel classic on you, or they're gonna put their own cone, and you're gonna be stuck with that piece control. And then when you're like, oh my god, he took my wall, and you try to edit out, it's gonna be too late, and they'll have a free shot. But if you have this cone, even if you lose your wall, like let's say I lose this wall, they can't replace this with anything, so you still have edit control, you're still able to do edits and get yourself out of a sticky situation. So it's really important when you're on high ping, when you're not expecting to keep the wall all the time, that you always put a cone. Now, this is actually something that low ping players should probably implement as well, but a lot of people aren't comfortable with having a cone in their box. But like I said, if you're on high ping, you got to make some adjustments to your game plan. Now, with replacing cones done, the next thing I'm going to talk about is also geared at defensive players. You guys might notice that I'm talking a lot about defensive players. That's because it's actually really hard to W key on high ping. It's actually more beneficial to play on like a more defensive play style. So my next tip is when you're on high ping, if you're boxing up, maybe you got like someone who just beamed you, someone's pushing or whatever, it is like almost 100% super important that you always make 2 1x1s. You don't have to cone both boxes, I'm just doing it because it's a good habit. Now, the reason you always want to make 2 1x1s is because you always want to give yourself more space to work with if you're playing defensively. This actually applies to like low ping players as well, although it is less useful than it is for high ping players. So the reason you want to make 2 boxes is because, let's say an opponent takes your wall, right? You already have this pre-placed cone because you already have this pre-placed cone because you've been watching my video. So you edit out and you go to leave. However, if you don't already have a box, like a place to like hide into, a really good opponent might be able to read you and do this, right? And immediately take your floor and cone. Now this can happen to like even the lowest ping players. Like when you're editing out of a box and you try to place these two, maybe your opponent already has them because they were just quicker, and you find yourself like kind of screwed, like, oh my god, like this, right? But with low ping players, a lot of time you'll probably do this, get edited on, and be like, no way, like I placed that way before he did, I swear. But that's how it is. If you're on high ping, you can't just say, oh no way, I swear I placed that before he did, because even if he places it after you, he probably gets it first, right? So if you already have this box, when he takes his wall, you can easily just pivot into this box and maybe straight away expand into another one, so you have even more space after, and kind of take it from there. Another useful thing, again, I think I already have a video on this also, but if you already have two 1x1 set up, an opponent comes out and takes his ball, you can like do little things with like how he doesn't know where you are, so you can like manipulate your positioning a little to get like a free shot on the opponent as well. But that's kind of like just a side tip. That's not really as important. Now that's the first three things. So I'm just gonna recap super quick for people with short memory. So it's okay to hold walls, but don't expect to keep them. Always have a pre-placed cone in your box because you don't want someone to take your wall and catch you by surprise and then take over your piece control as well. And always have two 1x1s so that you have a place to pivot into, and you don't have to say, "Oh, I placed it before he did. How did he have that?" Right? Now the fourth thing is actually kind of more ping reliant. So it depends. In my opinion, if you're anything above 90 ping, this probably applies more to you than like anyone under. So it's basically to stop being flashy. And what I mean by this is, like, we've all seen it before where someone's up top and you go like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna triple edit, bam, bam, 200 pump, like I'm so good at the game. But if you're on high ping, or if you're not used to being on high ping and you try doing these flashy techniques, more often than not, like you'll do what I just did, right? You'll mess up that wall edit just because of the timing. You'll do things like that. So the most important thing when you're on high ping is to stop being flashy. Stop doing the crazy plays. Stop saying, oh yeah, I'm just gonna, like, I'm gonna do like a bunch of triple edits and like destroy this guy like that. Because let's be realistic, in a real game, you're probably gonna mess it up. So it's important to play to your strengths, which is to say it's important to play really simple, right? Do like the really simple retakes that don't take too many builds, so that your server doesn't have to register as much. Do like simple boss fighting techniques, right? Just, you know, simple like guaranteed classics that will work on opponents. Stick to the basics and things will work out. And the fifth thing is finally an offensive tip. Even though I think it's really hard to play offensively as a high ping player, it is possible. And like a really important tip as number 5 here is to not go for a wall more than twice over in like the duration of a fight. I should have mentioned this earlier in the video, but if you're fighting someone and you don't know what their ping is, always assume it is 0. This actually applies to low ping players as well. Like when I was on 20 ping, I'm fighting someone, I always have to assume they're on 0 and they might take your wall first try. That's something like you always have to assume. Now, if you're attacking someone and trying to take their wall, you don't get it first try, you don't get it second try, stop trying because you're not going to get it, right? Go do something else. Maybe like trick opponent, go for a cone, you know, do this, bam, replace, drop down, take his wall by surprise, bam, he's dead, right? Stop going for walls expecting to take them because you're not gonna. Now, it is important to note that all the phasing exploits will work every single time. That ramp exploit works all the time. The thing with the floor. Once again, I have videos on like all these tactics, but all these tips, like things like this, like get you into boxes, all these will continue to work even if you're on high ping because they're exploits. So yeah, that's also important to keep in mind if you're trying to like put some offensive pressure on your opponent. So that's it for today's video. Once again, on the topic of high ping dominance. So obviously being on high ping sucks, but hopefully this video helped get you guys a little more tips on how to deal with being unfortunate. So yeah, that's it for the video. Thank you guys for watching. We hit 1.3k today, which is why I'm actually making this video. So if you haven't already, be sure to sub to the channel. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Consider using my creator code JEDI2X. I am using the proceeds from the code to support healthcare workers in the United States. Now, actually, I partnered up with an organization called Shielding Our Defenders, and they like make like they buy and produce surgically medically qualified masks to help out healthcare workers all over the United States. So I partnered up with them now. They've actually raised over $20,000 and donated over 3,000 masks, which is actually really awesome. So if you guys want to help support for free without having to actually donate, you can just use my creator code, which is JEDI2X in the item shop, and all the proceeds from there are going to Shielding Our Defenders. So that's it for today's video. Once again, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.